question is for you. Scholarships, you have been really, part of building it up for us at Kotak Education Foundation. What was the inspiration behind an all-girls scholarship?
Starting the all-girls scholarship, we could have just started an all-purpose scholarship rather than a girls scholarship. Now, there is really no data to suggest that girls do better if it's an all-girls scholarship or they do vice versa as well, right? So there is nothing which is stopping girls from succeeding in life or whatever. But what we sought, or what is the objective of this scholarship, is really we try to solve barriers that allow girls to enter the education field. Now, some of the barriers which are present is the huge gender bias which exists within our society, right? Especially in the rural or in the financially deprived households, the male child is always preferred over the girl child. And I'm sure some of you faced it, or your friends would have faced it at some point in time. The girl child is always taken a back seat. The male child is who's preferred to get, whether it is nutrition, whether it is education, or any of these. Even ASA data suggests that while there's been an increase in enrollment, there's been a the dropout among girls is far, far higher as compared to the boys. So that was one of the reasons to plug gender diversity or gender bias within our society. Now, when girls are educated, the health of the overall population tends to become better. Educated mothers actually seek better advice, better nutritional supplements for their children, and therefore contribute to a healthy population. When girls work, or rather girls are educated, when girls work, they contribute to the economy.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, there's been a study by Brooklyn Institute or something like that, which said, in India, if all girls were even able to reach the secondary level, we could add up to 3 trillion to our economy, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
UNICEF also states that if in the poorer countries, girls are educated, they can add anywhere up to 10 to 20 to 30% to the economy. And last and not the least is child marriage, right? India, child marriage is still very, very prevalent. A girl at home is an ideal target for early marriage. Early marriage also means early pregnancies, which again affects the health of the overall population. Now, there was a completely girl-targeted or a targeted scholarship which was meant for girls in West Bengal.
Okay.
Now, the results were amazing. The idea of that scholarship was only to postpone child marriage or have a delayed marriage. And they found that the scholarship worked beautifully. Keeping girls in school really helped prevent child marriage or postpone the age of marriage. Now, it is for these reasons to plug the entry barriers to girls that we started this scholarship, more than anything else.
Thank you so much. I think all of us have benefited from your. Moving on to Chetan, and especially from the whole aspect of inclusive growth, that is our motto at CSR for Kotak Mahindra Bank, the only kind that lasts. Chetan, please, help us understand that what Rekha ma'am said. Do those goals align with what we have as sustainable goals at Kotak Mahindra Bank?
Our sustainability goals at Kotak Mahindra Bank are essentially driven by a broader ESG agenda which we are kind of following, which ESG for some of you is environment, social, and governance, and you may learn about it as you get into your careers. And the middle part of which is social, it touches upon all the human elements that a business touches in the course of its life, which is customers who are human beings, employees who are human beings, and the community around you, which is comprised of human beings. And this is the social outcome that we are chasing as a bank. Within the social outcomes, there are two very specific aspects which touch upon what we can do for women, and there are all the three. So in the first one, which is customer, we look at how are we able to help women who are trying to build careers or who are trying to do entrepreneurship. So you will be surprised to know that we have more than 1 million women customers who are beneficiaries
That's a
of
huge
our
number.
microfinance. And this year we have acquired one more, so we have doubled our microfinance business, and it's like a very big objective. So we are there in the hinterlands of Karnataka, Bihar, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and trying to help these joint lending groups. And you may have heard of microfinance, and if you want to learn more, we'll be happy to share more details. So that's a very big area through which we help these women. We help them open their Jan Dhan accounts. They get their direct benefit transfers into those bank accounts. We give them loans, and we help them. Many of them are like small entrepreneurs. They are running their small shops, or they are doing their vegetable business. They are doing cattle rearing. So that is part of the inclusiveness in customer. Insofar as community, which is where basically we have our CSR spend, there are a number of programs that we are doing which are catering to women and to girls. This is one of those programs. An illustration of another program is essentially a program we are running in Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, where a cohort of Himanshu, 10,000?
400 eventually, but it started with
10,000 is a number of people we want to eventually touch.
Yeah.
Are women entrepreneurs getting training as a part of the I Am Bangalore program, at the end of which a selected cohort of them are funded for their startups through that program, and we help them to start their businesses. Our hope is that they will become independent women entrepreneurs, they will in turn spur more entrepreneurs, and they'll create jobs in the economy. They'll be the leaders rather than being followers. So this is an illustration of one program.
But on that note, Anupam, building relationships with women and overall is part of human resources, right? And especially as for the DNA within Kotak, it is. What are your thoughts on how do we as Kotak build long-term relationships with our Kanyas?
I'd say, the biggest one which makes a difference, and that I've seen in the last close to 6 months that I've been here, is offering an inclusive environment. Right? So the moment a colleague walks in, it's very important for an organization to leave people with a feeling and impression that, this is a place where everybody is treated equal. That goes a long way. And to the point that Rekha ma'am also made, I can say that many organizations, even when we talk about the corporate sector or the corporate world, continue to, struggle with something called bias. Right? It is very, very widely prevalent. It's very endemic to, the cultures of companies over the years. So what a lot of us experience in societies, in our communities, unfortunately, it's the same people and the customs and traditions which seeps into also corporate sector, it seeps into NGOs, it seeps into education sector. We're not insulated from that as a part of the corporate sector. Just recently, for instance, when we got in an independent consulting firm to spend time, do focus groups, we realized that, that is a theme which also needs attention and focus. While you did hear me say that, in the last 6 months, my early impressions have been that the place is far, far more open and inclusive. But what you're also hearing me say is there is a need to keep that check and balance. You cannot be fully insulated in a sector where, after the great resignation, after COVID, after the second wave, when employment opportunities started opening up, when the economy started progressing in a particular way, even in this country, I think banking as a sector, financial sector per se, has seen a lot of churn of talent across. Each time that people move in big numbers, you have some people who move out of the system, you have newer set of people that you onboard. Each time when you onboard newer set of people, it does kind of shift the tectonic plates of an organization from a culture perspective. So keeping the focus going on making sure that the culture remains inclusive becomes a very, very big challenge. And that is where, to your point, Aarti, the overall sense of inclusion, the overall aspect of making sure relationships work towards maintaining and sustaining that culture of inclusion becomes very, very critical.
Venkatesh, what has been your motivation to dedicate so many years selflessly to volunteering?
I think two of the main things which have driven me for many, many years, first as a corporate executive, is to try and make a difference wherever I go. And that making a difference matters to me. And there is nothing higher, as far as I am concerned, than making a difference to the women, especially girls and women, in ensuring that they get the kind of education they deserve to get, they get the kind of opportunities they deserve to get, and most important, I know for a fact that they will make a difference to the world. Two things are very important in life. A, having a higher purpose. Second, make a difference wherever you go. Whatever brought you here so far has been your effort, dedication, support, and of course, now the support of KEF, Kotak Education. You will go further up the ladder over a period of time, but never forget that this mantra, make a difference first to yourself, which you will do when you graduate and then you get a great job, etc., etc. That will all happen. Make a difference to the environment, make a difference to the society, make a difference to the community. If you keep that in mind, no job will ever be boring. Let me tell you that. It's only when everything is focused on I, me, myself, then you're going to have issues which are difficult to resolve. But when you're driven by a larger purpose, as Mr. Savla and Anupam, right, you will see the kind of difference you're going to make to the world. And you're all there to make a difference. And that's what, I feel. That's why I feel that this is what, matters more than us, right? That you are the generation which is going to lead, not just India or Bharat, right? You're going to lead in many sectors, fields which I'm not aware of. And I was very pleased to hear in one of the groups that I was there that they loved maths, right? If somebody had said they loved physics, I would say, great. Somebody says chemistry, that's fine. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a passion for something, whatever be that passion, go ahead and make sure you make something out of it. Don't stop. You are not there to stop, you are there to keep moving ahead. With that in mind, I would say, please, as I said, always keep that in mind. Higher purpose, make a difference to the world.
And now coming back to you, Chetan, you are also motivated to move into as a volunteer.
If I look at from an opportunity perspective, the opportunities are getting equal. But let's look at what is the goal here. Okay, globally, JP Morgan and HSBC are banks. They have a gender ratio of 50%. 50%. Okay. In India, it's less than 25. And it's 25, 26 in industries like banking. It's even lesser in other industries. Okay. So that's where we are. That's where we want to go. And therefore, what is good now is that opportunities are getting more equal. You will be able to, compete for the same kind of role or job as you get out into your careers. As it will be equal whether it's a male candidate or a female candidate. But and legal rights are getting equal for you. So all that is a good thing that's happening in the country, right? But you will still, at some point of time, depending upon your own, journey, you'll be faced with things like career break due to maternity, for example. And if you come back and if you come back, obviously that will happen. That's an extremely nice thing to happen in your life. But if you come back and rejoin your careers, you will find it that eventually the journey, it's not as difficult as you would have imagined it to be. And secondly, when we try to say that okay, organizations in India need to be 50% female, 50% male. I mean, I'm just telling you that even a developed country like Japan is not there yet. It's a very patriarchal society. So it's not an easy goal, but it will depend upon your grit of staying in your careers, getting into leadership roles. This what is 25%, 24%, 20%, gender ratio in general in India at the leadership level is 10%, 5%. So you will be able to break it only if you stay on the track.
So grit is definitely part of all of our interior selves. On that note, Anupam, and especially with the fact that Chetan mentioned that coming back from a break, some of us have. How would you really guide and advise our Kanyas to remain pertinent and adaptable, so that and have that grit in them with a passion on a continuous basis, so that they, whenever such breaks come in their lives, they come back with a bang.
One interesting piece of stat that they shared with us. I hope everybody knows Gen Zs. You've all heard of Gen Zs, right? So the good news is in Gen Zs, from a gender representation perspective in India, the ratio is already looking like 33% women, which for millennials was actually in the 20s. So that's a significant fillip. That's big for India. To what Chetan mentioned, from an aspiration perspective, if we continue to make sure avenues like this that we are, a part of today are specifically, available, as also women continue being focused. And by the way, in my earlier organization, we had CRISIL Foundation. It was so fascinating in those 7 years that I spent in CRISIL. And you took the example of Bengal, right? So CRISIL used to do work with, let's say, Assam, villages in Assam, as also, let's say Rajasthan. And in those 7 years, I had the opportunity to actually visit the interiors of Assam, interiors of Rajasthan. The amount of women empowerment through financial literacy that we've seen in this country is a game changer. So in Rajasthan, when we were doing this, we used to refer to them as Sakhis, right? So when we were there, literally in the year 2022, middle of 2022, when we were meeting a group of women Sakhis, 2 or 3 smartphones per woman. We also noticed that some of their male counterparts in the family were standing outside. But a lot of those women Sakhis were given mics for the first time to interact with us. A lot of them were actually quite nervous. Their hands were trembling while holding the mics as well. But hats off to the spirit of women, right? That they made sure that they had all the courage to have that meeting with many of us who were male colleagues there. Their husbands, spouses, in some cases fathers were waiting outside where they were all gathered. But they still had the courage to speak their mind out. They had the courage to be able to say how they are impacting the community of women folks around in those villages. So that is the rural resilient India in many ways, which is very, very different. In microfinance sector also, likewise, we see enough and more examples where a lot of branches today, a lot of work, which is field activity today, is done by women on bikes. That is the new India for us for the next 2 decades. If we fast forward it, I don't think they are in a mood to take a break. But yes.
Ravi, no, they're not. So please tell to all of us, yes, in Rekha ma'am, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Assam, far parts from Bombay, right? But within Bombay, do you think scholarships is making that impact within communities? What is, I know that you are also, running your own NGO as well. So how closely are you seeing this difference come from education, and to what extent is the impact that you see in your so many years of experience?
Let me begin by saying studying social impact of any program is the toughest part of the program. Okay, there's always a conflict in terms of saying, do I spend so much money on understanding impact, or do I spend on the program itself? Okay. And why do I say this? Because studying impact really means you're finding out or absolutely fine tuning what is it that I'm going to find. What is it that I'm going to solve? What is it that I'm going to solve through this program? Right? So it's very difficult. It's also very, very heavily data-based, which is expensive. Okay, two ways which you do it. One is qualitative and one is quantitative. Quantitative, though very scientific, is expensive and time-consuming. The same West Bengal example that I gave you, obviously they didn't find a reduction in child marriage over a period of 1 or 2 years. It took almost 15 to 20 years by the time they came to this conclusion that it was. Right? Which means data for 15 to 20 years. Right? So that's very, very expensive. On the other hand, there is obviously qualitative, which is not as accurate as your quantitative data. Now, let me give you an example here, which we've had in Kotak. Okay, we had this girl who was super bright. This is way back somewhere in around 2009, 2010. She was a Muslim. She did very well in her 9th and 10th standard. Came out with flying colors in her 10th standard. And we chose her for our scholarship. Now, giving her the scholarship was the least of the problem. Convincing her father to allow her to study was the bigger issue. Okay, it was a big battle. And of course, I don't blame him because he was the imam or the mauli at that place. So it was very difficult for him to allow his daughter to be educated. But he said, "Theek hai, 10th, 11th and 12th, nothing beyond that." We said, okay. So we went ahead. And again, this girl did wonders. 12th standard, she came out with flying colors and got admission into a medical college here. I mean, she was eligible for a medical college admission. And at that point in time, we didn't have the scholarship, so we really had to hunt for donors to support her. Again, getting the donor was easy. Convincing her father was the tough job. Okay, we pushed and said, please, ye, wo, sab ho gaya. Then he said, "Theek hai, chalo, I will allow my daughter to be educated." 4 or 5 years down the line, she finished her medical. She started working. And the father saw a difference to the family. What he came and told us was really amazing. He came and said, "आप लोगों ने तो मुझे इतना परेशान किया 6-7 साल में. क्या किया आप लोग ने?" Kind of taken aback. Then he said, "नहीं, लेकिन आज मैं बहुत खुश हूँ. मेरा बेटी डॉक्टर बन गई है. और आज मैं सारे मोहल्ले को बोलता हूँ, अपनी बेटियों को पढ़ाओ. अपने बेटियों का पढ़ाने का ठेका मैंने लिया है." So that for us was social impact. And this is what we expect out of this scholarship. You girls to go back, finish your program, go back to your society, to your village or wherever. Help move your families out of financial disparity that you have today. And that's it. Because the bottom line for all our scholarships is poverty elimination more than, and all the programs we work in, whether it is scholarship, skilling, education, whatever, it is poverty removal. So that's why the biggest social impact that we can have is when you guys go out and become role models in your own small, micro, whatever ecosystem.
Venkatesh sir, one last message from you for our Kotak Kanya.
I'll probably use sports probably as an analogy. I'm sure all of you have heard about Roger Federer, right? Am I right in assuming that?
Yes.
Okay. So this was from a legend in tennis. Everybody used to say your playing style is fabulous, smooth, graceful, etc., which it was. It was a fact. But when he addressed a session with the Harvard graduates, one message he left behind, which really resonated with me as well. He said, "I might have won approximately 80% of my matches at an individual level. At an individual level, I would have won about 80%, which is a fabulous strike rate considering that level. How many points or how many percentage points do you think I would have won out of this 80%? Obviously, nobody kept track of it. They would not know. He kept track of it. He said only 54%. I could win only 54% of the points, right, in 80% of the matches which I won. So he said, if this is true of somebody who has worked hard all his life as far as tennis is concerned, please, I would suggest all of you work in the same way, even if you get a success rate of 50 to 55%. Nobody is going to get a 100% strike rate in life. Don't ever be under that illusion. It never happens. But what matters is not giving up, being persistent. What got you here has been your hard work and effort and persistence. Am I right?
Yes.
Would you agree? Maintain that throughout life. Don't let that come down if you want to reach the pinnacle of whatever you wish to achieve in life. Right? I agree with that statement, and I've heard many legends talk about it. I would say it is true of many people I have seen in life as well, right? Including myself. So never let that passion diminish. Keep going, keep going. There will be graphs, a sine wave which goes up and down, but make sure you come out of it stronger and are able to climb, maintain your climb. Okay, so that's what I would say. Persistency, hard work, effort, dedication, right? And never give up, right? If one way doesn't work, try an alternative way. Okay, it will work at some time or the other, right? So you all have excellent future ahead of you, and we are really happy to have been part of the selection panel process. While reading about your CVs, we were very happy, and I wish you all the best in life and wishing you all the success, in life, and may you make yourself proud, your parents proud, and also Kotak Education proud of all your achievements.